and welcome to this edition of Parliament. We begin with news first from the upper house. In the Rajya Sabha, after 5 days of confrontation, it today saw resumption of debate on demonetization briefly, during which former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh led the opposition attack, saying the step was a monumental management failure, which would lead to a dip in GDP growth by at least 2%. Singh termed demonetization as a case of organized loot and legalized plunder. As Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the House, the opposition and the ruling side came to an agreement to do away with question hour and resume the debate, which had been left incomplete on November 16th. Leader of the House and Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said the Prime Minister will also participate in the debate. The opposition had been demanding presence of the Prime Minister for resumption of the debate for the last 5 days. PM Modi attended the House during question hour, as Thursday is the day of questions listed against the Prime Minister's name. Debate was resumed during question hour from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m., after which the House went into lunch break. When it met again at 2 p.m., the Prime Minister was not there, prompting the opposition parties to demand his presence again, as they wanted him to listen to all the speakers. Deputy Chairman P.J. Kurian said the discussion should be carried forward, as the Leader of the House has said that Prime Minister will come. Opposition members then trooped into the well of the House shouting slogans. Jaitley said his apprehensions that the opposition did not want the debate had come true, as they were looking for excuses to run away from the discussion. As pandemonium prevailed, the House was adjourned till 3 p.m. and then for the day, as the same situation existed. Speaking during the debate, Manmohan Singh said these measures had convinced him that the way the scheme has been implemented is a monumental management failure. He said the decision will result in decline of GDP by 2%, which was an underestimate and not an overestimate. He said he agreed with the objectives of the scheme to demonetize currency notes of Rs 500, Rs 1000 as spelled out by the Prime Minister, but he wished to highlight the problems that the common people and the poor have been subjected to by the move. Singh said his intention was not to pick holes what this side or other side does, but he sincerely hoped that the PM, even in this late hour, will help find a practical and pragmatic ways to provide relief to the suffering of the people of this country. Singh said the common man and the poor have been in distress after the decision and hoped that the Prime Minister would find a practical and pragmatic decision to mitigate their sufferings. 50 days, he said, is a short period, but for those who are poor and deprived in the community, even 50 days of torture can bring about disastrous effects. He also said that why about 60 to 65 people have lost their lives. He contended that what has been done can weaken and erode people's confidence in the currency system and in the banking system. He said agriculture, unorganized sector and small industry have been hit hard by it, and people were losing faith in the currency and banking system. The former Prime Minister criticized the government for issuing instruction after instruction and modifying the rules every day on the conditions under which people can withdraw their own money. He felt sorry that the Reserve Bank has been exposed to this kind of criticism, which he thought was fully justified. Asking PM Modi to spell out the names of countries where people have deposited their money in banks but are not allowed to withdraw it, he said this alone is enough to condemn what has been done in the name of greater growth. Participating in the debate, Naresh Agarwal of Samajwadi Party said his party was against demonetization and dubbed it as a second emergency that has brought about financial emergency in the country. Such decisions, he said, have been taken only by dictators and not by elected governments anywhere in the world. He said no one has the power to implement such a decision without the consent and approval of both houses of parliament, as parliamentarians are the true public representatives of the people of the country. He questioned how this decision was taken without any discussion in parliament. He also lamented that the decisions announced by the government have not been notified by the Reserve Bank of India, which is yet to issue instructions to banks. Welcoming the presence of the PM in the House, he said it is good that the government has shed its rigidity. He said the Prime Minister was not aware of the ground realities where people were suffering largely on account of the scrapping of high-value currency notes. Agarwal recalled how even former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, who enforced the emergency in the country, was informed at the time that the move has gone well with the public who support it. Taking a dig at the BJP over its promise of bringing back black money stashed abroad, he said he asked it to declare when it would do so. Agarwal also asked the government to declare how much is the NPA of banks in India in comparison to foreign ones. Agarwal also took a dig at the Prime Minister for making an emotive speech in Ghazipur in Uttar Pradesh that he may be killed for his bold decisions. He said the Prime Minister was free to roam around in UP, which is ruled by his party, the SP, without fear, as law and order situation was good in the state. This evoked laughter, with the Prime Minister too having a hearty laugh. Agarwal also claimed that the demonetization move was announced by PM Modi without taking Jaitley into confidence. He said if the Finance Minister had known about it, he would have informed SP leaders, evoking another round of laughter. In a retort, Jaitley said the real problem has come to light now. TMC leader Derek O'Brien said the government was trying to build a narrative that anyone opposing demonetization is supporting the corrupt. He said his party was opposing it because it thought the people are suffering and economy will be killed. The Trinamool leader asked the government why it was creating this impression that it is some messiah and all in the opposition are devils. O'Brien said if the government wanted to hold an inquiry, it should do so. He said if the government wanted to send his party leader and West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee to jail, it should try it. He suggested that old ₹500 notes should be allowed to function parallelly with the new notes for a longer time, as well as printing of more smaller denomination notes. BSP Chief Mayawati said the decision to scrap high-value notes was taken without adequate preparation, because of which 95% people were facing problems. Referring to the government survey to gauge people's views on demonetization, in which 90% out of initial responses had supported the decision, she said that in fact 90% people were facing immense problems. She dared the government to dissolve the Lok Sabha and go to elections and see the results right now. After the question hour, the House went into lunch recess, and when it reassembled, the Prime Minister was not present. Mayawati raised the issue of his absence, saying it was a matter of regret that the Prime Minister had not arrived for the demonetization debate. She said that until and unless the PM is present, discussion will not move on and the House will not run. She was joined by Sitaram Yechury, CPIM, and leader of opposition Ghulam Nabi Azad, who argued that if the Prime Minister listened to leaders, then the House would run smoothly. Yechury said the government had given an assurance that the Prime Minister will be in the House all day. Launching a counter-offensive, Leader of the House and Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said the opposition was inventing reasons for running away from the debate. He said the opposition is coming up with a new pretext every day to avoid one. The Finance Minister refused to accept the condition that the Prime Minister should sit in the House throughout the debate, saying it was not in the rule book. Azad countered Jaitley's assertion, reminding that during debate on 2G spectrum scam a few years ago, BJP, then in opposition, had said that the House will not run. Until then, Prime Minister was present throughout the discussion. Amid demands that the Prime Minister be present in the House during the course of the demonetization debate, the Rajya Sabha witnessed uproar, with leaders marching towards the well of the House, alleging that the Prime Minister had run away from the debate. Due to the uproar, the House was adjourned till 3 p.m. and then for the day. Earlier, when the lunch break was announced, the Prime Minister reached out to the opposition parties as he walked across in the House and exchanged pleasantries with his predecessor Manmohan Singh and other leaders of the Congress, as well as the JDU, NCP and the DMK. The Prime Minister, with Jaitley and Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi, shook hands and was seen chatting with former PM Manmohan Singh, Leader of the Opposition Ghulam Nabi Azad and Anand Sharma. The Prime Minister also chatted with JDU leader Sharad Yadav, Praful Patel of the NCP and DMK's Kanimori and various other leaders. News now from the Lok Sabha, which continued to face disruptions and adjournments for the 7th consecutive day over the demonetization issue, even as the House witnessed a new low, with Samajwadi Party MP Akshay Yadav throwing papers at Speaker Sumitra Mahajan's podium. Upset over the unruly behavior of the Firozabad MP, the Speaker first adjourned the House and then warned him of action under relevant rules. As soon as the House assembled for the day, the Speaker read the obituary references of the former Madhya Pradesh Governor Ram Naresh Yadav and legendary Carnatic musician M. Balamurali Krishna. The House remembered their immense contributions and paid homage to the departed soul. After that, the opposition members trooped in the well of the House and started shouting slogans against the government's decision of demonetization. They were pressing for an adjournment motion and demanding discussion of the government's move to ban currency notes of ₹500 and ₹1,000 under Rule 56, which entails voting. They also demanded Prime Minister Narendra Modi's presence in the House. Congress leader Mallikarjun Kharge urged the Speaker to take up the adjournment motions, but she said that a decision on them would be taken during 0 hour. Meanwhile, Akshay Yadav, who is nephew of SP Supremo Mulayam Singh Yadav, was present in the well of the House shouting slogans. Suddenly, he tore up some papers and threw them at the Speaker's podium. Agitated over the action of the MP, the Speaker adjourned the House till 12 p.m. When the House reassembled at noon, Speaker read out a statement condemning the actions of Akshay Yadav. She also warned him of future action under rule specifying conduct of a member of the House. She allowed papers to be laid on the table of the House amidst the din. Then the Speaker disallowed the adjournment motions moved by opposition leaders. Since her efforts to run the House did not have much impact on agitating opposition members, she adjourned the House for the day. With this, the first week of the winter session of the Lok Sabha appears to be heading towards a washout with not much legislative business being conducted during the period. The logjam between the opposition and the ruling party over the demonetization continued, as the opposition parties have been charging the government of not making adequate preparations before announcing the decision to spike the high denomination currency notes. However, ministers have been lauding the move, terming it as a crusade against black money, corruption and funding of terror. With the opposition parties united in their demand and both sides sticking to their stand, there appears no meeting ground, resulting in repeated disruptions and adjournments. With that, we wind up this edition of Parliament News. Coming up next will be Sansad Samachar. Stay tuned. Namaskar.